Well guys, I have great news. If you're a Motion Array subscriber, you just got a lot more value. We've just introduced an entirely new section to our website called Graphics. So I'm gonna be going over what this new section is, how you can use it, and if you're a video editor, like myself, how you can get the most value out of it to make your videos look absolutely amazing, because guys, I don't think you understand how game-changing this is. And if you stay till the end, I'll make sure to blow your mind with all the amazing possibilities this new section opens up. Okay, so let's start with the basics. What is this section? Well, basically, it's a category for still design elements that are highly refined and broken down into their most beneficial pieces. What do I mean by that? Well, let's go through some examples and I'll show you. How many times have you searched Google for a picture, like a simple arrow so you can show it pointing at something? But you download it and you specified that you wanted it to be a transparent PNG, and it still shows up with this frustrating background. So here at Motion Array, you can specify that you want it as a PNG, which allows for transparency. So you can just slap it down on whatever you want to and start to use it, simple as that. So let me show you what this section looks like and how to refine your searches so you can get the most benefit possible. Here under the image section on the top header, you can go to the graphics section. Now you're presented with a bunch of curated options to get you started, but you can also search here for something specific that you want to see. Just type in anything you want, like spaceship or movie poster or abstract black and white pattern. Be as specific as you want. Then over here to the right, you can switch things from our staff pick to other features like what's most popular and most downloaded among other users. And you can also filter out things by only including items that were uploaded recently. But over here to the left is the main section that you're probably gonna wanna be using. Here you can filter out a bunch of different options, and there's so many. So I'll cover just a few of them to give you some more perspective. Let's start out with categories. You can filter the items that show up based on whether they're illustrations, icons, or graphic templates. You can also check this box to only include vector-based graphics. This is important because vector graphics can scale up without losing quality, meaning that you can increase the size without getting those nasty pixelated edges. But a huge time saver is probably being able to filter by file type. You can see that there's a lot to choose from, and going over each one would take a lot of time, so let's just go over a couple of key examples. SVG files are short for scalable vector graphics, and they can be used in applications like website design because no matter how you scale it, it won't lose quality. AI and PSD stand for Adobe Illustrator and Photoshop documents, respectively. These are files which allow you to bring up the original project file in those programs and edit them to your liking, adjusting things like size, color, texture, or even the presence or absence of entire elements, completely editable to change something as simple as a title or literally every element. And if you're unfamiliar with a particular name or file type, a quick Google search should be able to give you all the information you could ever need in a heartbeat. And if you needed to know more general information, like if there's a specific program which supports the files that you want, or a particular theme that you want these graphics to be based on, or even the specific art style which best represents it, all of those and more can be filtered down so that you can get a really high degree of specificity for exactly what you want. So if you wanted a vector-based illustration of ice cream, which can be edited in Photoshop, well, there you go, we have options. So I think you can see how much flexibility you have when searching for things, but if you don't know what you're gonna be using these graphics for, it's hard to know what to search for to begin with. If you're a designer, you're probably super stoked and know exactly how you're gonna use these already. But if you're a video editor like me, it might not be as self-explanatory. So let me wrap up this video by giving you a couple quick tips on how you can use these as a video editor. And I guarantee you haven't thought of some of these. So let's start out with number one, compositing with After Effects. Now this one might come as a little bit of a surprise, but if you work in After Effects at all, this graphics section has opened up an entirely new world to you. Now I know what you might be thinking of first. Things like taking a simple background and putting it behind your text, or even more complicated things like using textures and patterns as track mats to stylize other elements, like taking the motion of a lower third and then giving it the pattern of one of these graphics. And yeah, those are really cool, but they don't even come close to the amount of power that this tip has for you. Let's say that I like this poster here, and I wish that I could get it to animate with this little rocket moving up into the sky. Wouldn't that be cool? Well, guess what? You can do that. If you filter your search for PSD or Photoshop documents, you can make sure that your results are ones that when you download them, you'll be able to use the original Photoshop document. Why is this important? Well, if you drag and drop this Photoshop document into After Effects and set it to import composition and retain layer sizes, you can drop this into your larger composition and then dig deep to each individual element. So what I can do now is create a null layer, parent the rocket and smoke trail to follow the null, and change the null Y position over time to make it look like it's animating up. And I can even throw in a wave warp effect on the smoke trail alone. And now what we've done in only about a minute or two is taken this original poster and given it life through animation. Insane. Now, really quickly, if in your case it's importing but it's not giving you this option to choose the individual layers, you just have to open up the original file in Photoshop, go up to mode, and change it from CYM to RGB, and then just save it. And then you should be able to import this into After Effects and choose to have all the layers separated. Now look, that was a really simple animation, but because everything is broken down into its individual parts, you can get super complex and creative with how you use this. Like changing this from a poster to a real life moving 3D scene. Officially mind blown. Number 2, be your own graphic designer. Now, if you're like me, then you're great inside of video editing software, but you suck when it comes to programs like Adobe Illustrator or creating your own unique designs. I'm great at manipulating things that already exist, but coming up with my own unique images, that scares me. So another way that you can utilize these assets is by filling in the gaps of your creative skill in the other peripheral areas around video editing. Let's say that I've created a video podcast that I wanted to post on YouTube or Spotify or somewhere else. It's pretty important to have some still graphics of things like the logo or the title of the episode, or things like the episode number or the people who are featuring on that particular episode. Now, I'm terrible at that stuff myself, and I can't afford to pay a professional graphic designer, so why not just use a template? Just type in podcast, and this one looks great. Now I can edit the original file and just change up the title, the names, and even change things like the color to make it line up with my particular style. And now with so little effort, I already have an image that I can post along with my podcast wherever I'm uploading it to. And it's even got different aspect ratios already done up for square templates like on Spotify, and vertical options if you want something that takes up the entire screen of somebody's smartphone. This to me is an absolute game changer because even if you are strictly a video editor or a filmmaker by trade, you're still gonna have to work with still images for things like even YouTube thumbnails. And the whole process becomes so much easier when you have an entire catalog of assets that you can download and use as a starting template, or pieces that you can build into a larger whole, like that arrow example we mentioned at the beginning, where I can just search for a type of image that will give you just the image and not a stupid checkered background. And on top of all of that, you get a license with each of your downloads so that you don't have to feel guilty about downloading random stuff from Google. And finally, number 3, combine these graphics with other motion array assets. Let's say that I downloaded this really cool image of a whale with roses and I wanted to use it to emphasize a particular point. It looks really cool on its own, but what if I wanted to give it a little bit more life and energy? I can download something like a Premiere Pro preset transition, or an After Effects logo animation, and suddenly the still image isn't just static. I mean, it is, but it also has the possibility to be almost anything that you want it to be, because it's in an ecosystem that gives you unlimited possibilities for how you want to show it. It becomes so much more valuable because it can be just its own still image, or it can be a part of a larger image, but it can also be anything you want it to be in a video in just a few clicks. And with the limitless number of things that you can throw at these graphics, there's almost an infinite number of ways that you can present this to your audience to make it look exactly how you want. Like, just take this as a throwaway example. I just thought this whale with roses was super cool and I wanted to do something creative with it. So I took this into After Effects, pre-composed it, cropped the region of interest, and in the main composition, I added the motion tile effect, increased the output width and height, offset the phase, and then animated the tile center and the phase to be opposite, and now I have an animated grid of these whales. But then if I dive back down to the original whale layer and I add one of our After Effects animation presets to it, that animation will be applied to all of them, making it look so much more cool. Like, it's insane the number of ways that I could use these graphics as a video editor. So I hope that I've given you a good starting point to begin downloading and exploring for yourself. Thanks so much for watching, and I can't wait to see all of the amazing things you're gonna use our new graphics section to create.